Oh, this is great. So, some guy texted me. I always get random texts. That's what happens when you put your phone number out there. So, some guy's like, "You made me a sub like 2 years ago." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "Can you tell me the specs on it?" And I was like, um, "If it's better if you send me pictures." And he's like, "Well, what if I give you my name? Can you look up the specs that way?" I'm like, of course I don't say that in the text. I'm like, I don't. I would have to keep immaculate records. I don't keep any records. There's like no records I keep. There's no requirement for me to keep records, right? It's like saving every pair of underwear that I've ever worn. No, man. They get tired, they go in the trash. I don't use them for rags. I don't do anything like that. Just go in the trash. But but if you put them in a yard sale, my brother will come and buy them. And if you offer them for 50 cents, he'll offer you 25 cents. So hey guys, it's Friday. I love you. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Phoenix. Let's see. We got a little bit of glare. Let me see if I can turn this light off. There we go. Fixed. Perfect, Mama. Stay right there because I'm getting a good shade going on. So this is what is this? February 1997. So, and then this is, you got to remember about this time of year is when CES has just come out. So they usually time it with it, so that way you're like, oh my God, this is like when you couldn't make it to CES before there was coverage and the internet and all that kind of stuff. So remember, this is 1997. So it's like there's gerbils inside of your computer making it go. Look at that. Tarantula. Remember those? It's kind of it looks great. Of course, the whole thing is meant to be countersunk, but it's kind of lazy when you think about it. It's because it's just a box. And then, they put fans in it and you don't really have to do anything. A lot of times it's not even an aluminum box, it's a steel box. So let's see what it says. Let me get a better look at this. 2004. See, and then they just put a generic amp in there. So, but this, I think by this time, yeah, SoundStream. Let me see. What is the? Nope, that's out of Folsom. That's the old guys. So the new guys, the new owners, which is Epsilon, they are out of, I forget what the name of it is, like Monticello. So I went and visited them. Oh my God, look at this pornography. Oh my God. 1200 watts RMS. Let's see. There was the D100HC and the 200HC. Advantages, more efficient than Class AB. Smaller heatsink for stealth installations. Less batteries needed to produce contest-winning power. I don't know about that. So, and then, not that I like it, but this is just what they did. So, what's great about this is that they put this substrate in here. There should be insulators. I think this might be just for the picture. So there should be insulators in between each device because you don't even want each device synced together. Unless they did like, no, I see what they did. Okay, so this is the power supply, and then this is the output section, and then this is one rail, this is the other rail, and then these are, what is it called, rectifiers. So, but yeah, they'll insulate each one of those, and they'll put some heatsink grease on, but this is basically it's just a copper bar. But what's great about it is it works as its own test heatsink when you're building it, and then they just plop the whole thing in there with some heatsink grease into the outer heatsink. So, and then as you see, they did an overlap, so it kind of covers up when you flip the amp over. So it is a pain in the butt though, because they put look at that, they put the fucking set screw on the side. Ooh, yikes! Don't work with it live, guys. And then of course the nice, I guess they're called Tiffany. Whatever. And then there you go, the MMATS connection. Some people call these Phoenix plugs, but they're, I forget the name of the company. Anyways, they're a Canadian company, and we get the plugs now made over in China, which is where they get them from, because, again, manufacturing costs. And then, what is it called? And then they're like, well, it just takes 6 weeks. Yeah, because they don't even want to airship them. They just want to ship them by ocean container. So, but you can buy them from me. That's out of Florida, right? I think those guys are out of Florida, right? Anyways, very beautiful work. Now they make a 1200 about half that size. In fact, the 1200s that I just posted last night are half that size. They're about that big. So, I actually, they've been doing that for a very long time. There was a company called Nexus, or I should say a brand. They weren't really, they were a company and a brand. It's called Nexus, and it was like the DD amp. It was a silver chassis heat sink that they just engraved on the top. And then I think Nexus didn't do the engraving. They just did a screen print. But they were based out of New York, and I think the company went under after 9/11 because they got damaged or somebody got hurt, which is not cool, but that's what happens sometimes. So when Dick Cheney wants some money, you get the fuck out of the way. I never got these ads, and these are actually really good speakers. They're imports, right? And that's the company of those, Macrom. That was the it was the I think the brother of Morel, and so it was basically just Chinese made Morel drivers, as same good quality as everything, but I guess he just really tried to, I don't know, be remembered. But you don't want to be remembered for a girl that she kind of looks like she's pregnant. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And then this, this one's fine. And then the dude in his tighty whities, I'm not a fan of that. That's all. And there's absolutely no speakers in the ad. So, this might be good for like a skateboarding ad because that's something completely different. But, whatever. It's not my brand. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a great ad. I would love that as a poster. Sound waves travel at blah, blah, blah. Listen. Very good amps. They just were limited on the controls that they had. Some of the early ones didn't have any crossovers or EQ stuff, and then later ones came out with it. That's when I think they started having, I just forgot the name. Chung Lam. The Chung Lam would make the boards, and then they would heat sink them here. And then they would have the heat sinks made, cut, and prepped here in-house. And they would just do final assembly and then test. And they were good. They were very good. 4-channel AudioVox. AudioVox. Great amp. You'll see this. If you open it up and look at that board, you'll find it in like 20 other brands. So same with these guys. It's just a no-name. That's from Fultron. It's called Me Too. And this was before Me Too. You know what I mean? Different package, same crap. There you go. Diamond Audio Technologies 600.25 Hex series. If I remember right, these are still off-the-shelf drivers. They just rebadged them, and then they had these custom-made, which is actually pretty cheap. So, and if you know anything about crossover design, the inductors are not supposed to be on the same plane. That's all. It's a pet peeve. You get what's called crosstalk. So, and it's not so bad because they share the same signal, right? And they're just dividing it into two, but you don't want any kind of unnecessary distortion. And so, but I think it just because it looks better, it kind of looks like a face if you really want to look at it. I do have some of those if you want them. They're just as good as the what is it called? The Boss ones that I debadged. So even the Boss ones know that you shouldn't put the inductors on the same plane. And Boss did a better job. So Sound Force by Sanyo. Again, all they did was just find a company, probably Chinese. They're like, you make good amplifier? They go, yeah. And they test them and they go, good enough. And then they stick it in there. That is all. There we go. You know what? I apologize for ignoring these beauties. Last time they were in another, I don't want to say episode, but another video where I just skipped right the fuck over them. And those were the marble red ones, the ones that came out first. And then they came out with these second, with the NTense series, because they felt like it was kind of, what's it called? Brand dilution. It was the brand was like all over the place. And so they're like, we need a separate brand for really top end magic shit, and that's what these were. So the board was laid out just a little bit different, but for the most part, it was the same. One of the things that they carried over from the GS series, which was the gold series, was the hand matched devices. So, which is what these were supposed to have. And again, hand matched devices don't really. How do I say this? Is the amp stronger than an unmatched amp? Yes, slightly. Is it audibly noticeable? Probably not. What happens though in a hand matched amp like that is typically what happens is all the devices all reach their max at the same time. And so the amp is either totally awesome or completely grenaded, completely dead, because all the devices go at the same time and you've been pushing it too fucking hard anyway. So, but, and if you look at the layout on a website like Amp Guts, and hopefully ours, which is going to be called Audio Guts, you can, me and Nikki Franzen, want to put together for you guys. So that way it's good for reference and it's also good for nostalgia. So Quipics, you guys remember those? So I remember them from back in 91. They had a gooseneck equalizer, which I thought was kind of cool. It was a novelty. It wasn't any better, but it was the way to mount the EQ where you ran out of possibilities in the dash, and so it would have like a little mic gooseneck, what it's called. And then it would be up on like a handle so you could grab it and then, adjust it with your thumb. Not that you would adjust an equalizer on the fly, but some people like to use an equalizer like that. You shouldn't because your speakers don't change. But, I guess if you go from like tape or CD, like back and forth, like sometimes tape can be a little hissy. And so you want to bring down like a 12K or 18K if you have a EQ band that high. That's what Dolby filters are and things like that. And so I don't know. It's just equipment, and it's all just China made, and they would stick it in a heatsink and put a sticker on it. I mean, it works great. It's fine. I think it performs the same as these. It sounds the same as these. I don't want to say perform. It sounds the same as these. So yes, Quick Picks or Quipa, and Orion NT amps sound the same. Yes, they do. And it's funny because the AutoSound 2000 guys, Richard Clark would bet you $10,000 that you couldn't tell the difference. So, and it's not me, right? Useless turd guy working out of his home. That's Richard Clark, 20-time world-class winner of USD Grand National Buick and all that kind of shit. And then teaching AutoSound 2000. Oh my God, these guys know everything. So, and they're willing to put up their money where their mouth is. So me, I'm just a shit talker, but I'm just following their lead, right? I gotta repost a Rockford video today. It was great. Somebody managed to talk to Rockford about how to do a factory tour. And I use the word factory very loosely because it's really just their headquarters over there in Tempe. But it's a really well done video. It's a little boring to me, but it's really great to see that they completely revamped the building and it looks super clean and super nice. And they used up a lot of the what used to be factory floor for offices and kind of build areas and things like that. But I'll post that up later. It was good. Thank you for whoever sent it to me. I'll give you credit in the next video though. Feedback. What is this? Ritop. Oh, it's Mobile Electronics School. Again, back then anybody could just go, we'll teach you, because there was no certification, right? And that's one of the reasons why the industry got together and created MECEP. But if you look at the MECEP standards, they're so basic. And you go to a regular shop, maybe like Best Buy, they want you to be MECEP certified. You go to a regular shop, they go, let's see your system. And they look at it and they go, okay, you're hired. Just like Larry F. was talking about in his interview. He's like, he just showed up with his fucking van full of woofers and they go, you're hired. Like obviously you know what you can do. So, and if you don't know what you're doing, then you got fires. If you do know what you're doing, then you got great sound. Speaking of great sound, Philips Sound Labs. Amps were made by Dick LeMay and Bernie Boland. Again, I don't know the details of that company. If anybody knows that one, it's basically the board provider, electronics assembly and design factory that PPI came out of, Orion came out of, MTX Terminator boards, also their blue version, which is basically like a knockoff Cobalt because it was in blue. And then they also had several other amps come out with that, the PPI ProMOS and all that kind of stuff. I don't remember the name of the company, and so I'm not really talking to Bernie. So if you can get that information out of him, that would be helpful. That's all. And again, Dick LeMay is dead, so the only word you have about the company is what Bernie says. And sometimes what Bernie says is a little exaggerated, so I'll say that. But other than that, the amps were great. The rest of the speakers are all just rebadged Chinese stuff. Nothing special, but I thought it was a really great. I want to say this is Philips, the big, humongous multinational electronics company, but I don't know for sure. So, but you can look up that. It's out of Kansas City, Missouri. So, I mean, back then, this was the only advertising that like electronics companies like this would do. And so you could call your brand best audio ever, and nobody gave a shit. There was no competition. There was no real trademark. It was just like you got a logo, boom, put an ad in a magazine, brand. And you're really just, some dude in a trailer in the middle of fucking Kansas City, Missouri, selling car audio, or even you have somebody else warehouse it, and you don't even do any of the shipping. You just do the marketing and the ads and things like that. So 8 Stroker plus 1 Maniac equals world record. I don't know about that. Oh, they hit over 180. Good job. Who did it? Does it say? The first subwoofer to officially go over 180. Wow, they don't even mention the guy's name. Maybe it was a sponsor vehicle. Oh, here we go. Let me see. Let me get that. That is Bill. What is it? I'm going to have to read it. I don't know. I thought Scott Owens was the first one to hit 180. So, oh, that's 160. Oh, 160. Oh, nobody gives a shit about 160. My mom can hit 160 with fucking Philips Sound Labs. That's 160. Fuck you, 160. Nobody gives a shit about that. US Acoustics, again, some of the older boards were also made by the same company. So, because when you open them up, it looked exactly like PSL. So, but they went all China, and so again, I mean, good for them. I don't care, but the amp design was really good. I mean, that's what's funny is you could look at somebody's amp design and you just copy it, and that's all China's done for 30 years. Illuma Pro, these were imported, if I remember right, Bob Speck, who was the one who led the transition team for Orion to import the Orion HCCA from China instead of from Tilo, because they're like, Tilo, you're giving these to us at $100 each, and we're selling them for $600, but we want more money. And so Tilo's like, well, no. And they're like, well, nobody cares about made in USA, so we're going to get these made in China for $50. And he's like, fuck you guys. So, but that's how that goes. And then I always liked these, the Phoenix Gold Sapphires. I think I've told you the guys that before. Losing the light here, guys. It's the angle's changing. XPL, again, whatever. They just had a ribbed polycone, which you almost have to because the poly is so weak. And what happens too is, well, if you make it thicker, then it costs more, even though it's super cheap. I don't understand that. Like, it's funny when I order sometimes like a really thick poly dust cap. They're like, how thick do you want this? I'm like, can you do 2 millimeter? And they're like, yeah, but it's kind of expensive. And I go, okay, what's the price difference? And so like a regular 1 millimeter poly cap is like 50 cents. And then the other one, the 2 millimeter is like, they're like, it's $1. And I'm like, it's still just a fucking $1. And I sell it for $10, $20, whatever it is. It's okay. It's fine. But I guess if you're buying 10,000 of them at a time, that's a big deal. Look at that. Parts Express selling Lightning audio. Look at that. Good job, Larry. you got in there. And they used to sell Profile. They used to sell all kinds of stuff. Legacy, there's my little buddy. I love you, Legacy. And Super Pro. God, I love Super Pro because it was super affordable. It was something that I could afford when I was 16. And it was good. It was really good. I think the woofers were made by Eminence. They were kind of blue, so they look like the blue Thunders from MTX. So, again, there's MTX in white and gold. Very cool looking. Stealth boxes from JL. Good job. Good job, Joe. Linear power. I think we've seen this before. Ultimate center point. It's just a 5x7 with a tweeter in the middle. Again, that's Ford's invention. AccuVolt. Head unit review, the Jensen KCD. Again, so you got to remember, why would such a prestigious magazine such as Auto Sound and Security review Jensen? Well, that's because Jensen paid them a lot of money. Jensen paid for an ad. So, Stinger. Here's the head unit review. Oh, what do you know? It's just like every other fucking CD player out there because they all use the same chipset. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Amp review. The MMATS LM2050. Now, this is probably a different one. What is the 2050? It was a... So I'm talking about the amp. Op amp. Oh, that's it. It's just 2 pages. Jeez. 30 amp power, 30 amp supply. Fuse is a good. Oh, it's just a 4-channel, I think. Whether I forget. What is the 2050? Oh, they put TO3s in there. That's all. Which, whatever. You just put a TO3 in there instead of multiple TO220s. This is one of those ones that's like continued on page 75 or something like that. It's all bullshit. Image Dynamics. Again, Image Dynamics for the most part, especially in the beginning, was just a Me Too brand, and you can look at all of this stuff. China, Eminence, stuff like that. I just put a sticker on the back. And then later on, they came out to design their own stuff. And was it good? Yes. Is it magic? No. And it's hard to find 2-inch coils with I think it's a 50 millimeter or even a 60 millimeter wind height in a super tiny thin gap. Is it efficient? Yes. Is it effective? Yes. Does it go bad? Yes. It rubs. Like, you can't make a woofer move that kind of excursion and then expect it to be linear. And was the Recon kit boltable? Yes, it was. But then they sold the company and stopped making it. So that's how they control that. They go, you know what? It's better if they just sell them a new woofer. But we turned some motors into like 8s and shit like that. Crossfire, same thing back then. Good amps, good crossovers, but all China. Strong chick. Right? Oh, that was the other thing. I was on Facebook and somebody was talking about they don't believe in gender roles. And so it was funny, is like, I as a fat guy, I'm thinking about jelly rolls. I'm like, that sounds good. And they're like, no, gender roles. And like, I'm like, I think nature kind of figured that out already, because like when you go find, the last civilization that's never had, any sort of technology or Western culture, and they figured it out. The women and the kids stay home and, sweep the dirt floor, and the guys go out and suck each other's dicks and hunt for wildebeests and shit like that. And they bring it home and the girls cook it up, and that's it. That's the whole thing. So even if you don't believe in gender roles, that's kind of how nature has made it. So, but if you disagree with nature, by all means do something, right? Like those stupid dikes around, was it New Orleans, right? You're disagreeing with nature. You're like, listen, you nature, we want to put a city here underwater. The Dutch did the same thing, right? So you can disagree with nature all you want, but typically nature gets the last laugh. See, there was what I was talking about. See, remember? Micro? Remember? That's the bass knob. That's what I was telling you about. And then they marketed this under the, this is the OR branded version. And then Alpine actually paid for their own tooling on their heatsink, and it was called Bass Engine. So, but it's the same exact product. So that's a little crossover. Good crossovers. Just, I don't like using outboard crossovers because typically they get noisy. So like over time or whatever, they get scratchy, you know, just go bad. So, and the ones on the amp are perfectly fine, the same exact one. This is PSL. Those look like Eminence or even just China. Aura, Magic, not really, just expensive. Neo Radial. Again, you know, it's funny, the Neo Radial motor is actually really, really deep, and it doesn't have to be. So Dan Wiggins was actually working on a, I think he called it a, what did he call it? A frog frame? Grasshopper frame. I was thinking green and hopping. Grasshopper frame. It's like a modular frame, and it was like a really shallow Neo one. I think actually Nick at Stereo Integrity finally was able to import and integrate some of Dan's ideas into his products. So if you want to see that, let me see if I can find a link to it. So that is the Tits McGee right there. If you wanted a head unit, that was it. I loved these. Very, very good, but very, very expensive. So, and then they put that thing in there where like if you, how did they do it? Like, oh, if you power it off or something like that, then you'd have to put in the test disc, and then it was like you only get it from the dealer and it's only registered to you, and it's kind of bullshit. So, but you know, now you can get a head unit like this for like $160 from Walmart. So again, trickle down is that one. I love that color. I really love that color. So match that up with some Audio Pulse woofers. Boom. IDQ. Again, this was their two-way component set. The only fancy thing they did with this was they took the USD image dynamic, or what that was, what was it? USD SoundWorks. And they just put a kink in a bend in the neck. That's it. And it's the same fucking thing. So now it fits under your dash. So other than that, it's just a PA horn, and you can unscrew the back and change it out when it blows and all that kind of stuff too. Some of these are even piezoelectric. It's just a diaphragm. It's like a cheap little Motorola diaphragm. So there's not even like a real tweeter. So that's for the really cheapy ones. These I liked, but they were very expensive, and they were good, but they used the plugs too. So we have the plugs for all these models. There are 5 models. And then they would use variations. Some of the older models would use the smaller, tinier plastic Phoenix plugs. And then they later integrated, because they were melting wires, they're like, oh, we need to put something bigger on here. So then they would put the regular size plugs on there. So, and I have all that shit. If you want it, just hit me up. There you go. This was a little bit of voodoo for a minute. This is just a step up, step down transformer that they bought off the shelf and then put their sticker on it. It's called AccuMatch, which is where, like, if you have a 4 ohm speaker, but you wanted to run it 2 ohm on your amp to get the most power out of it. So it would step down the voltage, which is also virtually the same as the impedance. And then you would have a 2 ohm load at your amplifier. Magic. And it would get all the power. But then the problem is that you lose a lot of accuracy, and when you go through a transformer like that, it gets squishy. It's not exact. It's not precise. It's like the difference between a manual transmission and an automatic transmission. Yes, they both work, but there's a huge difference when you're winning high performance and control by using a manual transmission. But any car guy knows that. And I'm not even a fucking car guy, right? My shop teacher he used to sneak up behind me when I'd fall asleep in his stupid class and drop a leaf, not a leaf spring, the other one, the coil spring behind you, and watch you spaz out and pee your pants. And he's like, ha, 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 ha. But he also wore the same pair of pants for a whole week. And then he would change shirts, I think, on Wednesday. And that's it. He would wear the same shirt, same pair of pants all week. And then, like, he would wash them on Saturday. And then, like, when they'd wear out, like, once a year, he'd buy new ones. So, I don't know. Very practical guy, but certainly did not associate with any of the other staff. What is that? Blaupunkt? Who is that? Clarion, same thing. Again, a lot of these companies just get them all from the same. There's Blaupunkt. For a while, there was some sort of styling difference for Blaupunkt just because they were taking cues from German-created products like in Mercedes, BMW. Of course, BMW is not German; it's Belgium. Whatever, same group of people. Just like Southern Arizona and Northern Mexico, same group of fucking people. It's just little design cues and stuff like that. And then now they're like super China cheap. Some of the stuff that I've seen though is a pretty good deal, and they're trying to make a splash back in the market, but there's no margin. So especially on generic products, unless you do what I did, see, because I've been seeing this come for 10 years now, which is that the internet has killed brand. Right? Because you can buy it on Amazon for 50 cents cheaper. Why would you buy it in a store and pay tax? Now you got to pay tax on Amazon too, or at least they charge you for it. I don't know if they're going to give it to the state or whatever. But if you can get it for 50 cents cheaper, you're going to get it from Amazon, right? So, but if there's no brand, they can't do any research on it. Or if it's a house brand, like, whatever, Bob's Buggin', right? Bob's Bugs, or Doug's Bugs if you're here in East Valley Mesa. If you own Doug's Bugs, you can have your own DB brand of audio. And basically what you do is you import generic audio and then you put your sticker on it. And that's what I do. I just import generic audio and then we put your sticker on it, or you put your sticker on it. I don't care. I'm not attached to it. And then you make all the money. Then you sell this amplifier, Doug's Bugs 2150 for $800. Go for it. Nobody cares. It sounds the same as everything else. This is the bug. Bug. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Acoustic. Where is he at? Sometimes, especially, it doesn't really say. Drop acid, not bombs. I don't know about that, but it was 97, so there was a lot of acid. It was only $5 a hit back then. So I told you about, I told you about selling the fake acid. That was great because I worked at Cutco. And the Cutco shears have a little bit of a serration on them. And so when you cut it like a greeting card, it would leave like a little tiny, like a dot, right? And so we cut up some greeting card in the, I think it's 1 square centimeter things. And then you wrap them in tinfoil, and then we sold them to a bunch of dummies for $5 a hit. And then we got a call about 4 a.m. This wasn't real acid. And we're like, so, but we needed some money for gas. Don't buy drugs, kids. You never know what you're going to buy. Woofer of the month. Who was it? I forgot already. Attitude. Yeah. The same thing. Jensen, Chinese, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. Same woofer. I don't even, why? Well, again, the reason why they would review it is because they paid them. Typically, this is where Ultimate would put an ad. As you go, very good. See, it says very good. And then you go, boom, Ultimate, the ultimate woofer, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't. So they're advertising that thing. Would you steal it? No, because it can be traced back to you. Let's see, 57 Blastro. I don't know if it's a 57. It's a lot of amplifiers, though. MRV amplifiers. I remember those in Hawaii. Base 200. Oh, sorry. Let me show you a picture. Oh, that's when they had those, was it Neo? It was like the triple D drive. That didn't go very far. Because whenever there's something innovative, everybody else will copy it. Okay, especially now China. That's why typically you don't want to do prototyping in China. You want to do it here, and then you have one factory like on another. You don't call them states. I forget what they call them. Province. So you'll have another factory in another province make one part, and then another province makes another part, and then you ship them. And then even when you ship them, you don't want to ship them to the same company name. You want to ship them to like one in LA called, Joe's Mama's, and then one in like Kansas that says, Dick's Baby Daddy's, whatever. And then you have them ship all to you. It's just, you have to do it in secret, because otherwise they go, oh, we see, and then they copy you, and then they sell it behind your back. So, but that's what China does. When they're bored, if they're busy with orders, they don't give a shit, because they're just making tons of cash. They don't care. The MTX. Oh, this was kind of cool. I mean, I never got to sit in it, and they would always, if you notice a lot of these demo vehicles, they always use a lot of the cheap woofers, and that's because that's what you can afford. And if you're going to one of these demos, it's because you're poor. So anybody that has a vehicle like that does not go to that. That's just the math on that one. So Not that there's anything wrong with being poor. I was fucking poor and I couldn't go that. I remember we sat in the Power 92 van, which had a bunch of XTR subs in it. And then we stole a stack of the stickers and put them all over Mesa. It's fucking great. Power 92. Helix. That was made by Lightning Audio. And then they would put the sleeve on it. Presto. So, and that's where I learned that there are several people that work a job and then they sniff cocaine about every couple of hours, and then they are the best workers in the factory. I didn't know that, but people really do that. So I forget his name. He was like, do you want, I was like, no, I don't want any drugs. And the guys were always accusing me of being a cop because I was always talking about prostitution and drugs. Orion 225. Good. Oh, look, did the custom heat sink. That's cool. With the yellow. That's for Curtis Navarro, because he loves yellow. You guys meet him online, send him some yellow stuff, yellow subs. He loves all this stuff. Ground Zero. Look at all those guys. Remember that? Before COVID. Was that which one is that? The 500M. And then they came out with it was basically their version of the 225. It was like 2 by 25, and you got to drop it down to half an ohm and all that shit. Or no, the 50M and then the 50X squared, I think it was called. It's like they kind of fucked up on the marketing on that because you couldn't really tell which one did what. So there's the girls' sunglasses again. Oh yeah, there's the amp review. Let's see. Still not seeing. Whatever. I don't really care. Sorry. Don't care. Good ad, very colored, good ad. Waterproof, fireproof, bulletproof. That's just because they use aramid fibers, which is probably not Kevlar. What's the other one? Nomex. So, and Nomex and Kevlar are very interchangeable. They just have slightly different properties. And then that's not really what makes them tough. What makes them tough is then they put fiberglass resin on them, and so that's why you can make these out of fiberglass too. Or what's that? No, it's called phenolic resin. Sorry. Oh, big truck. Again, the Phoenix Gold ones were also done by, maybe that's where they met. So probably Larry F was doing Phoenix Gold and then Larry V was doing the caps. So I don't know. I would love to talk to, well, Larry V is on vacation right now, and Larry F is back at the shop with Hank or Henry, and they are, oh, that's right. They did the Phoenix Gold washing machine. I always like this idea, especially if you had a raised truck, but in practice, it's not very, of course, it's not very practical, but people did it. People still do it. I don't know about that. There you go. Oh, sexy guy. Not gay at all. 92 Eagle Talon. That's a girl's car, bro. Let's see. What is that? That is a Ford RS Capri. It is ugly. So, yeah, I would love to see Larry F's fucking van where they get like the shag carpet and all that kind of stuff and just do stuff. Local H. It's like a weird version of Elton John. I don't know. This album, oh my God. Oh, talk about a classic fucking album. Beautiful. Beck is just timeless, man. Was it Raz? Soul on Ice. Raz Cass. I don't know. Well, that's what happens if you're black. You go to jail. So. This is America. This is America. Very nice, but unnecessary. You can do this same thing with like a dowel and a circle, or even just make this out of MDF and do it yourself. It's not that hard. But if I remember right, these were like $100 or even $300. It doesn't even tell you the price. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, I just ordered a router bit from these. You want to make sure you get the carbide router bits, and then also you want to get them about, I think, two cutting depth of about 1.5 inches at least, if not 2 inches. Sometimes you got to go through double face, and you want to use a router holder like this. Oh, you can get these on Alibaba for like $20 now. It takes 6 weeks, but you can get them. Just make sure it has the right pattern for your router, and then make sure that you're getting the correct router bit size for your chuck. So there's usually 1/4 inch, and then I think there might be 3/8 or 1/2 inch from there. So just make sure you get the right size router bit. That's all. I remember this ad. I was like, wow, what a fucking. First of all, they overcharge you, and then they steal your car later. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, there was a lot of shitty, underhanded, garbage type of people working in car audio. There still is. So, but that was the thing, and it was such a thing. They put it in an ad. But again, this is the generic for. I forget who the parent was. Let's see, Omega Research. So, in fact, they don't even list the Omega brand, even though that was actually a brand. But yeah, Matt, K9, Freedom. They tried to be like, who was the other one? DEI. So, but they were not. There's DEI. There's you want the gold standard? You got to pay for the fucking back page, motherfucker. That's money. Money, honey. And this was the Neo driver that they used. I told you about that at the, it was the Golden Arc. It was one arch at the U2 show when they were promoting Zoo TV, Zooropa. I think it was called the Zoo TV tour. No, Pop Mart tour. That was the Pop Mart tour because Pop Mart had come out in 97 when they came out with Discotheque, and great song, by the way, just stupid video. And that was a great show. I love that show. I wish I could have been more into it, but I was busy doing security guard bullshit. And yeah, I told you guys about that. Larry Mullins came out and on the catwalk and played drums, and then threw his sweaty towel on the ground, and then I snuck it home and gave it to my wife, and then I think she masturbated with it. So she's shaking her head. She's like, I have not masturbated with it. You still have the towel though, right? She does. She does have the towel. It's only a matter of time before she masturbates with it. So anyways, I love you guys. That's another episode of Storytime. February 1997, Auto Sound and Security. Love you.